Welcome to this episode of Alive and Thriving. Today, we are going to be diving into part two of our three-part series where we are discovering what it looks like, feels like, sounds like, smells like, even. Bring in all your senses to be operating from a conscious and aligned business that feels safe within your nervous system. So, last week we talked about the nervous system and the role that it plays in terms of our bodies, in terms of our safety, in terms of our well being and our emotional health, and how that can and does filter into your business. I really hope that you understand the importance that your nervous system plays in terms of your business outcomes and your business success. And so, as we continue this topic today, we are going to talk more about creating a conscious and aligned business and what that actually means. This is a topic that we are going to be diving into very deeply on so many levels in the Transcendence Mastermind. In fact, it's actually one of the goals of the mastermind is to help you create a conscious business, an aligned business, and a business that feels safe in your nervous system so that you can actually expand into what you are trying to create, so that your body does not feel like you are not safe in terms of what you are trying to bring into your world, so that you are not getting to the edge of your next expansion, whatever that might be for you, the edge of your comfort zone, and pulling back. That is something that is a absolute huge part of the Transcendence Mastermind. And what I guess if you've heard any of my story, or even throughout this year, as I've shared my healing journeys, I've shared my business journey, then you will know from me just how much these strategies, these energetic strategies of consciousness, of alignment, of energy management, of personal growth, which also comes down to healing the nervous system, just how much these have had a phenomenal impact on my business and on myself as a human being, in terms of how I show up, in terms of how I speak to myself internally, in terms of the confidence that I have, so many, in terms of my belief in my capabilities. And this is what happens with my clients as well. So often I work with women who come in and the problem to them that they're coming in with, the surface level problem, is things like I'm stuck, or I'm really stressed, I'm hitting burnout, my anxiety is at its peak. And when we dive into it, it is coming down to them not being conscious. Okay. So living on autopilot. It is coming down to, and autopilot can also mean, by the way, autopilot in terms of, and we'll talk about autopilot today, but in terms of the way that you are naturally used to responding to the world. Okay. And so that can often mean that we not only have limiting beliefs to dive into, but a part of that healing can sometimes mean trauma work as well. The work is deep. Anxiety is a message. Anxiety is your body saying something is not right here. Something is not aligning between your thoughts and your conscious desires and your subconscious beliefs around anything. Anxiety is an invitation, and there's a whole podcast episode on this. Anxiety is an invitation to get curious. If you are ready to take that next step in your business, if you know that you are ready to dive deep, to do the work, to be deeply held and deeply supported in a beautiful 12-month container, not only by myself, but by your mastermind peers who are of like energy, who are going to be there to guide you, to support you, to hold a space for you, to run a business and be human at the same time, to explore what is ready in your world to come up and to shift, then you need to be in the Transcendence Mastermind. This is the place for you to do this. The big difference between this mastermind and a typical business coaching space, besides obviously the mastermind characteristics, is that the way that I am creating this container is to be able to hold you in the capacity of mentoring through a strengths-led business, but also mentoring in the capacity of healing. So alternative therapies that I work with in my private spaces, EFT tapping, clinical hypnotherapy, elements of Gestalt counselling, body psychotherapy, de-trauma technique. So many techniques, I'm not going to list them all, that I integrate in my practices. Every single coach, healer, service provider, anyone who works with people, anyone who works with energy, we all need a therapist and we all need a coach. And the beautiful thing about Transcendence is that it's offering you both personal evolution, energy management, and strengths-led business. And so if you come into this container and you put in the work, remember that I'm not a magician. You can't just show up and magically transform just because you've come into somebody's energy. You can certainly be impacted by energy. But I'm not a magician. I can't just magic all the work away. You need to be able to show up and do the work. And I think if you are even feeling that pull inside, then you'll be ready. Know that your body and your subconscious mind will only let you go as deep as you are ready to go. You will not be presented ever with more than the capacity that you have to hold. I promise you that.
You're listening to Alive and Thriving with Jessica Reed, the podcast that's all about empowering you to achieve optimal wellness and success through self-care, holistic practices, and raw conversations. Jessica and her expert guests are here to share powerful insights and strategies to help you overcome stress and anxiety, take charge of your life, and thrive in life and in business. Grab a cuppa and let's dive in.
So what is a conscious and aligned business? What does it actually mean to operate consciously, to operate from a feeling of alignment? I'm going to do my best to explain this. Alignment is, I feel like it's something you very much feel, and misalignment is something that you very much feel. But let's dive into why it is especially essential in today's world as well. So in a world that is really constantly urging us to do more, to be more, to achieve more, the concept of running a conscious and aligned business, honestly, I feel has never been more crucial. But what exactly does this even mean? Running a conscious and aligned business is not just about profitability measure metrics, growth metrics. Yes, these things are obviously very important in business. And so I'm not saying to ignore them. No, we don't ignore those things. In fact, we need to make friends with them. But again, we can do this from an energetic perspective as well. Complete side note, this is how I've made friends with my money. I ignored my metric in terms of finances, in terms of growth for a very long time. I had a story in my head about what it was, and I did my reconciling, but I never actually looked into what was going on. Funny story. When I looked at what was going on, I actually saw consistent growth. I saw quarter by quarter doubled growth. And can you imagine the energy that I was then coming into my business with, knowing that it was actually really safe for me to look at that information? And I've also been in situations where I've looked at the information and not had that kind of growth. And for me to be able to be aware that the way that I perceive this is going to be the make or break of how I move forward from it. Part of that is being conscious. And a part of that is me living in alignment with the beliefs and the values that I am holding over creating an energetic match business, over creating a spacious business. over operating from a belief that money is my friend and that money is just energy and it flows in and out, flows freely. Yes, I'm not saying to, that was a side note, but I'm not saying to ignore your metric at all. We need to know what is happening in our businesses, but you can absolutely come at it from an energetic perspective once we can lower the resistance. And if you have resistance, that is an invitation to get curious as to what that resistance is about. But running a conscious and aligned business is really about creating a business model that is in harmony with your deepest values, with your beliefs, with your intuitive wisdom. And yes, we all have it. We all have intuitive wisdom. We learn to come off autopilot and quieten our mind. It's about business decisions that are not just being made with our brain, which is what I think we are very conditioned to do. We're conditioned to think. And obviously, the brain, it needs to think. That's its job. That's okay. I'm not saying we don't think through our business because that's not the case, but it's about a holistic perspective. A conscious and aligned business is about making decisions not only from your brain, but from your heart space and from your gut. Okay. If you are a sacral being like me, then we make, and that's human design talk. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. You might have felt things in your gut before, but if you are a sacral, then it's about making decisions from a response. It's really about being mindful also of the impact that your business is having on people, on your family, on the communities, the impact it's having on the planet. A conscious and aligned business comes down to a really beautiful big vision of how you want to be living your life and the impact that you want to be making, and being aware of where you are up to and where you are at in that journey, and making peace with that journey, making peace with not being where you are up to. If you're wondering how, is running a conscious and aligned business different from running a business on autopilot? And I want to be very clear, and I will do a whole podcast episode on this because I love this topic. Autopilot and automations I see as very different things. Now, our brain needs autopilot. It absolutely does. It has created neural pathways because you don't want to look at a blue pen and a red pen and know that they're two totally different things and try and have to figure out what they are. The brain just automatically knows that they are both pens. Okay? So we need autopilot. We need autopilot for so many things, but what we don't need autopilot for is the decisions in our business. Not the decisions, not our behavior. Not our behavior. When we get stuck in autopilot behavior, it is so often not serving us. That autopilot behavior of getting to your glass ceiling and self-sabotaging. That autopilot behavior of not feeling your emotions and swallowing them down. And maybe raging on someone or going and wondering why you go from these really extreme moods, or why you feel like you're not coping, or why your body's not healthy. On autopilot, your decisions might fulfill short-term goals, but often what they are costing is long-term sustainability and well-being for both yourself and for your business. So being conscious in your business means that you are in tune with the state of your nervous system. That's why we did nervous system first last week. That you are aware of how your business decisions resonate with you emotionally and physiologically. Okay, so if I'm making a decision in my business, I know the difference now. I very much know the difference in my body and in my mind. And this is something that we will very much be focusing on again in Transcendence. I know the difference between what feels stretchy, okay, What is me stepping into that next edge of expansion? What is me moving out of my comfort zone in a positive way? And what feels misaligned? I know the difference between that. I know the difference between now me making a decision out of fear, out of scarcity, out of distrust, out of making a decision out of a place that is not from alignment. I know the difference. I know what that feels like because bringing this consciousness into my business and this awareness into my business has been huge. And so we're not only making, again, decisions based on just what we think is the right thing to do and the shoulds that we have. I can't wait to take everyone through a process on letting go of shoulds. If you are coming into the mastermind, just wait until we let go of our shoulds. Oh my goodness. So this creates a natural alignment where your business doesn't just make sense on paper, that it feels right and it feels deep, right deep down within your core. You feel that feeling. You know that you are in alignment. And a lot of that is going to come from, we spoke last week about our nervous system help pulling us back when it comes to moving out of what it deems us to be safe, what's been repeated for you. And so a lot of this work is uncovering your limiting beliefs and the subconscious programming that you have that is limiting you, and working through that so that you can work from a space of alignment. So in a world that we live in today, and I know you feel it, a conscious aligned business, it really will serve as a compass. It's going to help to guide you through ethical dilemmas. It's going to help you to navigate uncertainties. It's going to help you to navigate, should I join this program or not? Should I work with this business or not? Should I take on that client or not? Should I raise my prices or not? It is going to help you to create a framework where you can run a successful business whilst also nourishing your own well-being, whilst creating spaciousness in your life, whatever that is going to look like for you. Spaciousness and well-being is a huge priority in my business. And it never was previously, and I've talked about this, because I was conditioned to work. It's that whole to earn money, we trade dollars for hours, we work harder, not smarter. No, we work smarter, not harder. My whole motto this year has been, the less I do, the more I make. The less I do, the more I make. The more impact I make, the more income I make. The less I do, the more I make. You can say that with me if you like. If you are ready to let go of that old paradigm, if you are ready to let go of that old programming. Now, that spacious way of business may not serve you, and that's okay. In that case, a Transcendence Mastermind is probably not for you, because that's not the way that I'm going to be mentoring. But that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the way that you are moving through the world. Consciousness allows you to notice your autopilot behaviors. It allows you to make changes. It allows you to stay in the present, which is so important for your nervous system. Consciousness, awareness. I think sometimes we feel like we can't achieve these states. And I want you to know that it is actually something that is happening really naturally for you. At any moment, awareness is there. This is why you could be sound asleep and awaken to the sound of your alarm, because awareness never goes away. It absolutely never goes away. And if you were to pause and ask yourself, am I aware right now? The answer would be yes. And then what am I aware of? I'm aware that I'm not feeling fantastic right now. Why might that be? Oh, I was having those thoughts that someone might not join my program. Okay, now that I'm aware of those thoughts, I'm conscious about what's going on in my body. I actually feel quite anxious in my tummy about getting on an Instagram. This is just a theory, like an example. I'm feeling quite anxious about getting on Instagram to talk about this offer because I'm having these thoughts that no one's going to join me. So we now have consciousness about what is going on. We're conscious about what's going on in our mind. We're conscious about what's going on in our bodies, and we can now make a conscious decision to change that. Think about autopilot behaviors too, about your direct debits. From a purely, I guess, more logical perspective, I have a lot of the programs that I use for my business are international programs because they're online, and that just seems to be where most of the programs are coming from. I use Kajabi for my website and for my membership portals and things like that, hosting the podcast, all those things. Even what I'm recording this podcast on, every program that I use seems to be in some kind of US dollars. Now, it took me a little while of ignoring my finances to realize the extent of the international fees that I was being charged. Huge. Absolutely huge. I had no idea that every time think about every time you run a Facebook ad and you're being charged in international dollars, and then you're getting an international humongous fee on top of that. I had no idea because I wasn't conscious in my finances. I was on autopilot. And that autopilot for me was coming from these deep core stories and beliefs that I spoke about, I think maybe in episode, I'm going to say 76, but I can't quite remember, where I shared with you some of the core money beliefs that I have had in the past. And if you have done the Becoming Limitless training, then you will have heard those stories in absolute depth around the money beliefs that I was carrying around and how they were actually impacting me in my business. Meaning that I was wanting to show up to my finances from a space of fear, from a space of unworthiness. And then, as I shared with you at the beginning of this episode, one of my goals this year has to become more conscious in my finances, to make friends with my finances, to know that it's all energy. And the more aware and the more conscious I am, I just saved myself a few $1,000s in international bank fees, thanks to that consciousness and awareness. So you can see how this is not just applied to one single part of your life or business. This is everything. For me, autopilot behaviors were so full of also too so many shoulds. And I hear this so often with my clients. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should start my business, but I really should have my logo first. I should put up my prices, but I really should have maybe another 10 clients under my belt before I do this. I should be, I should be having a membership with this. I should be putting this into my course. I should be offering these services. First of all, says who? I know there are so many fantastic gurus in the space of business and business coaching and marketing and all these things. But what they are offering works. What works more is you being in alignment. What works more is you being in an energetic capacity to be able to even pull off their strategies. What works more is you having a deep-seated belief that you can achieve these things because you can go and implement their strategies. But then you're just going to self-sabotage, or you're going to hit your glass ceiling and your nervous system's going to go, oh, hey, not safe, and it's going to pull you right back. And if you are not conscious of this, if you are not conscious of what's going on in your body, if you're not conscious of what's going on in your mind, if you're not conscious of the fact that maybe a certain time each year you reach a certain income and all the rest of the times are more. Well, what's going on at that time of the year? Oh, that's the anniversary of someone's passing. And maybe I'm actually in a different emotional and energetic state at that time. Having this awareness and consciousness allows you to move forward. So letting go of my shoulds, and like I said, I can't wait to take the Transcendence Mastermindees through this process. Letting go of my shoulds and working out what really was serving me and what really wasn't mine. I have an open head center and an open ajna, which is the top two parts of your head in human design, the top two centers. And having those open means that I'm really susceptible to other people's things. And it's hard for me to make a decision. And so I did have all these shoulds. I should be sending my newsletter. First of all, I should be doing a written newsletter. And I should be sending that newsletter at this time of the day every week because this is what this content person said worked for them. Now, I don't know if you notice, if you're on my email list, you probably will notice, I send voice messages because that I should be writing an email actually meant that I wasn't writing the emails. I would sit down to do it. And whilst I used to enjoy writing and I do enjoy journaling, I much prefer talking. It's my strength. Communication. I've got a defined throat. Communication is a strength of mine. And so letting go of that I should be doing this in a certain way. I should have my podcast every single week. Guess what? I pretty much have for the last, since February. We're on episode 85. So tell me how long that is, since February last year. But occasionally I've had to be human. And if I had that that didn't give me permission to have a week off if I needed. Like when I lost my best friend. I had to let go of those shoulds. We have to let go of our shoulds from time to time. The shoulds stop us from moving our needle forward. And the consciousness and the awareness of these shoulds is also so important. Just being present in your business, being present in the energy of your business, being present in the energy of your client, having a conscious awareness of what is going on allows you to enjoy your experience of being a business owner. Enjoy your experience, or even navigate yourself through, because not every moment is enjoyable, but be able to navigate yourself through the challenges if you're consciously aware that you are having an off day, or you're at the low of an emotional wave if you're an emotional authority like me, or an empath, or if you are at the low of a wave, if you are going through something challenging, just even having that consciousness and awareness to know what is happening for you allows you then to move into your business in a way that is aligned. And that's what we're going to talk about now, is alignment. First of all, let's talk about the synergy between emotional states and business success, because to me, that is a huge part of alignment. Your emotional and your physiological state is going to directly impact your business decisions and your productivity and your client relationships. And in the hustle of our modern day entrepreneurship journeys, so many business owners, we function on autopilot. Okay, completing tasks without conscious thought. Food without conscious thought. We drive our cars without conscious thought. And again, our brain needs autopilot for so many things. I don't want to relearn how to drive the car every time I get in there. I don't want to relearn all the things that I learnt in my 4.5 years of studying. So we do need autopilot for some things, for so many things. But again, not on our thoughts, not on our decisions, not in our business. Autopilot is essentially running your business. It is essentially running your business on pre-programmed belief, habit, responses. And while this might seem efficient, okay, I don't have to give any thought to this. As I mentioned before, even with my finances situation in terms of the international fees, when you're operating on autopilot, you can completely disconnect from your business. You can also disconnect, and you will disconnect if you're running your life, your behaviors, your thoughts, everything on autopilot. Again, not automation. I love automating things. There are so many things that we can automate in our businesses, in our lives. If you don't have a robotic vacuum mop, make it a goal. Manifest it into your world. We're not talking about automation. We're talking about autopilot, because automation comes down to intentional energy. Where do I, as a business owner, as a person, want to be spending my energy? Do I want to be spending my energy cleaning my floors for an hour before client comes? Or do I want to be spending my energy grounding myself, eating some food, spending it with my children? So autopilot, automation's a very different energy. When we are working from autopilot, we are disconnecting ourselves also from our intuitive wisdom. And we're also disconnecting ourselves from our body's signals. So if we are so autopilot used to living in a state of stress, a state of anxiety, then we're just going to disconnect those signals. We're not going to see them as signals anymore. We're going to see them as day-to-day normality. Sit on that for a minute. So the danger here is that autopilot doesn't consider the state of our nervous system. And we spoke last week about how important that is. If you haven't listened, go back because it's like, this is the core pillar. This is where you want to start. And so when we're not tuned into how we feel, then we are likely going to be making business decisions that are misaligned with our authentic selves and that are misaligned with our physiological well-being. And a great example of this, of being in tune, in being aware, is literally a client conversation that I had in a session before this, where she said I was packing orders and I was just so tired. And normally I would have pushed through because there was only 4 more to do. Normally I would have pushed through, but I listened to my body and I went to bed. And just having that awareness, that knowing that pushing through those last 4 was going to send her over her capacity to cope is huge. That's a huge win. Huge win. So this misalignment can manifest as stress, overwhelm, even burnout. Remember I said earlier, when clients come to work with me in the alternative therapies mentoring space, they come with issues like stress, overwhelm, burnout. Over time, what can happen is this creating a ripple effect, influencing not only your productivity, but also influencing your relationships with your clients, with your team members, with your mentors. It's going to influence everything. And so to counteract this, it is really essential that we create a synergy between your emotional state and your business activities. And we can do this through techniques like tapping, EFT tapping, clinical hypnotherapy, holistic counselling, so many other techniques that we can do to create this synergy and this awareness between our emotional state and our business, and if our actions are aligning. And so once you are aware, then you can start to take deliberate action. I was going to say journaling and things as well, if you're going down a self-led route in terms of navigating this. So once you are aware, you can take that deliberate action, and you can make that a conscious decision to align your business activities with what feels true and safe for your nervous system. And just quickly on that, because I know last week I said what is repeated for your nervous system is what it believes is safe. Repetition is safe for the nervous system. When you are conscious and you are aware, just like I said earlier, I now am so aware of the feeling in my body of stepping into that next expansion, sitting in that discomfort. My nervous system now feels safe to be in the discomfort. Okay, that's a big thing. Think, why would I want to feel safe sitting in the discomfort? Because what happens? If you feel stressed, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel anxious, if you're trying to move into that next state of your elevation and your expansion, and you can't sit in that discomfort, if you are going through some huge life challenges and you can't sit in that discomfort, then you are going to be suppressing it down. You're going to be proving yet again to your nervous system that the discomfort is not safe, and we come straight back. That's why every time, I know I talk about anxiety and panic a lot, and that's because that was my experiences, but it's every time you have a panic attack, if you can observe and sit in the discomfort and then observe afterwards that you did that, you are showing your body that if these overreactions of your stress response happen, that you are actually safe. And this helps you to not meet these things with so much resistance when they happen. It helps you to increase your coping capacity and your threshold. So the result of all of this is a conscious and aligned business that not only serves your client, but it also honors your individual emotional and physiological needs. And this creates a space then where you're not just surviving in your business and you're not on just day-to-day autopilot And oh, where did that time go? All of a sudden, we're at the end of that financial quarter and I achieved none of my goals, nothing I set out to do because I spent all my days doing all the things I thought I should be doing and not things that were actually moving my needle forward in a way that works for me in my energy and with my unique personality type and my unique way of being and the season of life that I'm in. Hello, rant about strengths led business. That you're thriving and you're feeling energized and you're feeling aligned. This is what happens through conscious and aligned business. So we talk about so many strategies to help achieve this. And these are going to be really strategies that are going to help you to come off that autopilot. And so that might mean, again, dealing with limiting beliefs. It might mean doing trauma work. It might mean practicing mindfulness in your day. It might mean regulating your nervous system so intentionally with something like tapping that is sending a calming signal up to your brain and helping you change the way that you have previously viewed a certain topic. Disconnecting those emotional attachments is all going to help align your business with your nervous system. And we can do that together. You can explore that on your own. There are so many beautiful ways to self-explore, so much free resources. But we can do that together. We can do that together through a one-on-one capacity. We can work together 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. How deep do you want to go? How much do you want that change? Or you can come into the Transcendence Mastermind and we can do this work as a collective. So you decide how you move forward. If you move forward, you get to decide that. Now you might be thinking, oh, this is something that is pretty mythical, right? That might work for you, but it's not going to work for me. The way that I was in my business at the beginning of last year and the year before was coming out of huge amounts of stress at home. It was having a very young, I'm going to say needy, but not in a bad way, babies, newborn babies, year-old babies, toddlers. They need a lot from you. I also have another child who equally needs me. I run my partner's company in terms of all of the bookwork and all of the administration, co-director of a company, starting my business, studying at the same time. I have done, I think, 12 different qualifications over the last 4.5 years. And you might think, okay, this might work for you or for someone else, but I'm a unicorn and my stress is worse than someone else's. No one could possibly get it. My grief is worse than someone else's. My anxiety is worse than someone else's. No one else can possibly get it. I understand. I can empathize. And no one has been in exactly the position that you have been in, but none of us are unicorns when it comes to that. Absolutely none of us are. We all experience our own thresholds of, I'm just going to say it, shit. I don't normally swear on this podcast. I'm a bit of a potty mouth in real life. You'd never know, but we all have thresholds. But I want you to know that it takes work and it takes layers and it takes intention. And if creating a conscious and aligned business with a nervous system that feels safe to enter into growth is important to you, then we will find a way for you to do that. As I mentioned before, it is so multi-layered and it is not just a magic wand situation. And I want you to just look back over the last couple of episodes as well of my podcast of Alive and Thriving and have a look the week before's episode with Jazz Jervis. Real life human example that we can do this. A couple of weeks before that, Rachel Bale, real life human example that we can do this. I have another one of my mentors coming on in a couple of weeks, November. Stay tuned for that one. But again, you will hear real life human example that we can consciously create what we want to create when we are conscious in our business. And the reason why things aren't happening is because we're not conscious. If you actually sat down and journaled or observed, if you became conscious and aware and you started to observe how many autopilot behaviors you are actually exhibiting in your day-to-day life that are not serving you, yet you continue to do them, then you'll probably be blown away. And so I mentioned that I was not operating from a space of alignment previously. And how that changed for me is things like, first of all, my nervous system is on board with change. And I had to sit in my body to understand what the difference again is between that stretchiness and a fear-based decision and a decision that is being made out of misalignment because I think I should be doing it. My energy has made a huge part. This year, one of my biggest goals has been spaciousness, consciousness, and alignment. And so being aligned, and so alignment's going to look like things like aligning your thoughts with your words, with your actions. Yes, as coaches, we all know that. Aligning your core beliefs and your business's core values with your actions. Aligning your big goal with your business's core beliefs, something that we so often overlook. Alignment with your energetic state. Again, why am I so low this month? Oh, that's right. It's the anniversary of this. Oh, okay. So now I'm going to meet myself with compassion and empathy and actually look at how I'm going to do business this month. How can I create spaciousness to allow myself to be human? Working with your unique energy type. And there I'm talking about things like human design. Coming into alignment with my energy type. Oh, this is going to be a really long process because it takes so long to decondition. But just even when I first started working with my response strategy and my emotional authority, huge difference. So much more alignment in terms of the way that I operate. Aligning your thoughts, your conscious desires with your subconscious beliefs. This is something that I've had to do. And again, that consciousness and that awareness allows me to know when my subconscious beliefs are not supportive. When there's old stories popping up, my body, being in tune with my body allows me to know that. And being in alignment with the season of life that you're in at the moment. I did not and could not have had the energetic capacity to do what I'm doing now when my daughter was newborn. For me, that wasn't the season of life that I was in. The season of life that I was in then was working in nap times, studying in nap time. And so I want to share more, but I am conscious of the time because I have created a longer episode than I thought because I absolutely love this topic. But I just want you to know that you feel misalignment. You feel it. And so whatever is coming up for you, the overwhelm, the anxiety, the stress, the feelings of stagnation, I want you to just get curious. What's misaligned for me? I'm going to finish off this episode. We've got part 3 next week where we're going to talk more about our body and our business. But I want to finish off this episode with some tips for you, some really practical tips to scaling your business consciously. Tips for growing your business in a way that doesn't compromise your emotional well-being. Remembering that your emotional well-being is going to compromise your mental and your physical well-being. So obviously regulation. Learning how you like to regulate. There are so many different ways. I'm an advocate for any kind of regulation. We all know I have my favorite techniques, my go-to techniques. But for you to be able to help yourself, you need to explore and discover what's going to help you. So understand, and I guess regulation too is going to start with that awareness of knowing when you're not regulated. Okay, so that's probably a whole nother episode of conversation. Or some very intense one-on-one sessions. Or one of the learning portals in the Transcendence Mastermind. Getting support. Now that is going to be huge. Coaching and therapy. If you want to be scaling your business consciously, you need somebody to be helping you navigate through the things that your brain is saying, this is in the too hard basket and I'm going to skip over it. You also need somebody to be holding a mirror up to you to be saying, this is a pattern that I'm observing. Let's dive into this if you're ready to release it. Because sometimes we just don't see our own blind spot. And that's okay. Other people are trained to see your blind spot so that they can help you then observe whether they are serving you or not. So when we talk about scaling our business consciously, it is really a topic that touches the core of combining business strategy with emotional well-being. Even when we talk about scaling, so many entrepreneurs or business owners, because of our conditioning, are going to go straight to that need to work longer hours, to skyrocket our stress levels, and to have a life that's dominated by our work rather than by living. And I, as I said, have a mantra this year: the less I do, the more I make. The less I do, the more impact I make, the more income I make. The less I do, the more I make. It really doesn't have to be this way. To scale sustainably, first of all, we want to understand your limit. Understand your physical and emotional limit. And that's where we're talking about our compassion. Why am I off this month? Oh, it's that anniversary. Okay, this is where my emotional limit is up to. Something challenging is impacting me at home, and therefore it is going to bring in an emotional limit in my business or physical limitation. And that's okay. I think we see limits, and I know, I have done my becoming limitless immersions, but I do just want to point out that self-imposed limitations are very different to knowing a limit. It's like a boundary. A limit that's a boundary. They're very different. Okay. Growth can be exciting and is exciting, but not at the expense of your health and well-being. Okay. Your nervous system can handle so much, and that's going to be very much based on your external experiences and your internal experiences. And so when we push beyond that so quickly, sometimes we get these short-term gains, but it's going to lead to long-term setbacks, okay, which can include burnout. So knowing your limits, being respectful and compassionate of those, and having room for flexibility. So one of the cornerstones of scaling is flexibility. Your business plan is a guide. It is a guide. It is not a strict rule book. And especially if you're a manifesting generator like me, you're going to want to pivot. You're going to want to pivot. I have a line 3 in my chart, which means that I am actually here to experiment, to make mistakes, and then to pivot from those mistakes. But I'm not going to know if something is for me or not unless I try it. And that used to come with so many stories for me around being flaky, about not being able to stick with something. Now how beautiful that I can let those stories go. If you are too rigid in your approach, then you are likely operating out of some kind of limiting belief, and you are more likely to push yourself and your team too hard, which is going to trigger stress, and it is also going to drain all of your emotional resources. Okay, so flexibility. It is okay to change your mind. It's okay to pivot. This is your life. You are allowed to do that. Now, leveraging your emotional intelligence. Okay, this is something that you definitely want to be doing if you are wanting to consciously scale your business. Being in tune with your emotions as well as those of your team, if you have a team, as your client. This is going to provide you with invaluable insights into your business. Emotional intelligence is going to allow you to navigate challenges with a balanced perspective. It is going to help you to keep your stress at bay, and it is also going to help to promote your sense of well-being as well. Another key piece of advice I really feel is energy management over time management. Okay, say that one again, because that's going to land hard for some people. Energy management over time management. Now, this is not just about cramming more into your day. It is about doing the right tasks at the right time in the right season. Energy management prioritizes your well-being. It is, urging work when you are most productive and rest when you're not. Rest when you need it. Optimize your schedule around your natural rhythms if you can, as much as you can. And I know for so many of you, brain's gonna pop up and be like, I just can't not see a client at all when I'm menstruating. Well, okay, no, that might not be possible, but how can you allow more spacious? It's not black and white. There is not one way or not. And then, of course, we want to be setting boundaries. Okay, clear boundaries between work, personal time, between what you should be doing yourself. Well, there I go with the should. No. What you can be doing yourself and what drains you energetically that you delegate. This can make a huge difference in terms of your stress levels, in terms of your emotional well-being. Boundaries are going to also empower you to say no when you need to, allowing you to focus on what truly matters when you are looking to scale your business consciously and in an aligned way. And then the final tip that I want to share with you is resilience and mindfulness. So challenges, as we've spoken about on so many levels today, are just a part and parcel of any growth journey. They are a part and parcel of life. And developing resilience through these kinds of practices, through mindfulness practices, journaling practices, regular meditation. If you don't like meditation, you don't have to meditate. You can do tapping. There's so many different styles of meditation as well. I think we so often get stuck in one. But there's so many ways. And these are all things we can explore for you one-on-one. What is going to work for you and your unique brain and your unique body and your unique energy. Deep breathing exercises, movements, energetic strategies. I love wiping things off my body. Absolutely love it. I will pull it out. I will move my energy around in so many different ways. I have found techniques that I love to keep me calm, to keep me grounded, to keep me present. Doesn't mean I don't flip my switch sometimes. Human, and I have compassion for that. And I have awareness and consciousness over it as well. So these kinds of exercises are going to equip you to handle the ups and downs that are going to come with, inevitably, the ups and downs that are going to come with scaling. So I'm going to wrap it up there. We have part 3 next week, and I cannot wait to share this last part with you. We are going to be talking about balancing body and business, somatic practices for business success. It is going to be awesome. I want to hear your thoughts on this episode. It was a big one. You can hear I'm really passionate about this. This is the underpinning of the healing work that we do as coaches, as healers, as service providers. This is the underpinning of that work that we do to be able to show up as our best versions of ourselves for our people. And so I want to hear what you think. I want to hear what you've taken away from this, if you've had any aha moments, and of course, if you would like to discuss whether one-on-one services moving forward or whether the Transcendence Mastermind might be a good container for you. We are starting in November, so it is coming up very soon. Then let's have a free chat. Let's just have a conversation, quick phone call, and see where you're at and what might be the best way that we can support you to move forward.
Wow, what a journey it's been today. We are so grateful for each and every one of you who tuned in to Alive and Thriving. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help us keep growing, please consider subscribing and leaving a review on your favorite platform. It's a simple but powerful way to support a small business like ours to continue to make an impact.